Hey everyone, welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged, like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. The iPad generation is coming. This one's short. Company has a summer internship for high schoolers. They each get an old desktop and access to one folder on the company drive. Kid can't find his folder. It happens sometimes with how this organization was modified for COVID, that our server gets disconnected and users have to restart. I tell them to restart and call me back. They must have hit shutdown because 5 minutes later I get a call back, it's not starting up. Long story short, after a few minutes of trying to walk them through it over the phone, I walk down and find he's been thinking his monitor is the computer. I plug in the VGA cord, he thought was power, and push the power button. Still can't find the folder. He's looking on the desktop. I open File Explorer. I can see the folder. User: I don't see it. I click the folder. User: okay, now I see the folder. I create a shortcut on his desktop. I ask the user what he uses at home. An iPad. What do you use in school? iPads. Yeah, tablets are probably the wave of the future for most things, but there's still something to be said for teaching people how to use a regular PC or laptop. First post here. 3 tickets within hours from the same user. I've worked tech support at a school going on 8 years now. Backstory. Today is Password Policy Update Day that folks have known about for 2 weeks now. To be in line with insurance, we are implementing a new, stricter password policy. Minimum 15 characters. It was really bad prior. Don't ask. I get a ticket. Note that I hate to see tickets sitting in my queue, so I jump on it. User: hey, can I get a loaner? I forgot my computer at home. Me: sure, how's a Chromebook sound? That work for you? User: great, I only need nondescript cloud platform anyway. I hand user a web-only device for the day. 30 minutes go by. New ticket from the same user. Still hate seeing tickets sitting, so I jump on it. Easy fix anyway, right? User: hey, since I don't have my regular computer and we just had the password policy change, can you reset my password pretty please? Me, thinking, okay, I get it, we just flipped the switch today, no worries. Yeah, no problem. I change it and write out the password on a sticky. On login, users are immediately asked to change it, and walk down the hall to user's office. But I see user and user 2 driving away in user's car. Okay, I guess user can wait until they return. I come back and sit down at my desk and look at my queue. There's a response in the user's ticket. Hey me, never mind, I remember it now, which I don't see until after I do the change. I sigh and wait for the user to come back so I can hand them the sticky. I get another ticket from user. Hey me, I'm locked out of my account when I asked you not to change it. I message my coworker. Hey coworker, can you take this password ticket please? As I was back at my other tasks. Just as coworker was typing out the response, user walks in the door to ops and says, I can't log into my account. I was on support chat with another user and I said, can you come back in 5 minutes? User said, I'll be in room such and such. I sighed and said, okay, I'll come to you in 5. I printed out the password on a full-size letter piece of paper and handed it to them. It's not my fault you can't remember the password you just created. Edit. Holy crap. Just got another ticket. Same user, same problem. Lord help me today. I swear, some people shouldn't be allowed to cross the street without somebody else holding their hand. No, I don't need more speed. Context. My dad runs a local ISP. We're a read distributor and don't handle any routing requests. It's mostly extending L2 layer. In our area, people are not that into internet and stuff. People are mostly old school and go on the internet only if they have to, like registering for COVID-19 vaccines. Our internet plans were priced at age-old prices and we knew it was due for a revamp. So we brought the prices down. And when the customer's recharge was due, we called them to inform them of the change and whether they would like the upgraded speed or if they wanted a better plan. D equals dad, C equals customers. Some conversations go like this. Dad: hello customer, we've decided to increase the speeds on the plans but not change the price. For example, if you had a plan of 5 megabits per second, you'll get 20 megabits per second now. Yes, this is good speed considering people aren't too keen on getting or using internet. Customer: wait, what? No, I want my original speed. I don't want anything else. Dad: you'll get better speed. Same service we provide, but better speeds. Customer: no, revert it back to what it was. Dad: I know people get set in their ways, but how would you not want the improved service for the same amount of money? That kind of blows my mind. Tech support equals emotional support. This is a story from a few years back when I worked tech support. I was in a legislative building in which nearly every one of the people we helped, especially the secretaries, believed they were head chief of the planet, and one of them calls for help. He had lost what was essentially everything he'd set up for the next legislative session on accident, and didn't notice until when that session started, so 6-ish months of normal computer use between these points. He was very respectful and nice about it, didn't blame us for his actions in a surprising twist of the norm, and was extremely cooperative in trying to solve the problem. I did the usual checks. It was a flat, dead, empty personal drive. No backups, because in the name of security, which I quite appreciate the thought of, but I suspect it was actually just because he wanted to be able to use the drive on a Mac instead of a state laptop, he had intentionally put everything on his own drive he brought in, and not one of the ones we make regular backups of. Not even a hint of his work on the backups. I suspected he either brought in the wrong drive or had it wiped by security, as there was no evidence of any data being formatted over the drive having been used much, though there wasn't the usual stuff on a new drive either. No recovery software detecting anything useful. The proposal that he had the wrong drive was taken as an insult, and he assured me that he knew what IT was capable of and that we could reconstruct it. I showed him what the recovery software was showing, and he lost any of the previously kind demeanor at this point. He began describing what he knew we could do, and it was apparent that he expected me to law and order this stuff. A request I've heard quite a few times, but made this incident stick out, was how he insisted he had seen this in real life, and I just didn't know what I was doing. He didn't want me to escalate it to someone higher up or bring in anyone else. Instead, he kept me in his office for over 2 hours describing things he knew we could do to see if I could magic that up, and talking intermittently about how screwed he was and what this would affect while being on the verge of tears. Given his insistence on that being the drive, I think he did get it wiped by security, though he wouldn't specify, just said he lost it. You're supposed to get drives wiped at the end of session if you used a personal one for state stuff. I'm not cybersecurity and don't know anything about if this was enforced or what they do exactly. I was really just providing emotional support and reassurance at that point. There have been many times in my 2 years of tech support where my job ended up being reassurance and grief counselor about broken tech or lost data. I think that skill is underappreciated by most team managers, as that was one of my last tickets before I got transferred to a different job. It's one I think back on the most. I was just really bored the entire time he kept me there. I was sympathetic to his plight, but there was nothing to do but either let me talk to others or drop it. Compared to how tense I was dealing with the first time someone acted like that. I wonder if all the deal with people's emotions jobs get like that after a year or two. This was a few years ago, so I might be remembering a few specific details wrong. And a note, I was specifically not allowed by contract to invite or escalate or talk about any situation involving a specific representative or legislature's data without explicit permission, unless it was to HR. I could go ask questions and find out generally how the wiping process works and if it could be undone and get back in contact with myself and whatnot. But as he didn't specify that's what he did, and I wasn't particularly invested in this issue, I didn't care enough to do so. Yeah, I feel like IT people are the bartenders of the corporate world. You know, you're everybody's mother, therapist, whatever. Oh yeah, and everything that happens bad in their life is your fault eventually. The mysterious black screen. I work at a small electronics store in a small-ish city. A customer buys an item from us, and while I'm finishing up the transaction, they ask me if they can inquire about an issue they're having, which isn't uncommon. We get these questions every day. With a sufficient background in computing, I agree, and they explain to me that their desktop is unable to boot, as it only shows a black screen. Go through the usual issues, busted cable, broken monitor, etc. Narrow it down to a hard drive issue. When I ask them as to how much they write to and delete from their drive, They replied to me that they mod their games pretty frequently. Quite common, nothing out of the ordinary. Then casually they mentioned that they format their hard drive around once or twice a month to uninstall the mods. Needless to say, I informed them that they need a new hard drive and to not format the drive and just uninstall the games. Holy cow, they don't see the correlation when they do a format and everything just disappears? I'll have you know I've been working on computers for 10 years. That's how the call started. Then she went on to tell me how she wasn't going to be talked to like some child. This is going to go great, I moaned internally. Her computer was running slow. We ran through a few things and I asked her to shut down her PC and let me know when it was off. About 4 seconds later she tells me, okay, it's off. Impossible. I asked her to turn it on again and let me know when we get back to the desktop. 3 seconds later, okay, it's back up. Ma'am, can you tell me exactly how you're shutting down your computer? Here it comes. She launches into a tirade about how she works on a computer every day at work and blah 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 for about 5 minutes. I understand, ma'am, and I'm simply asking the steps to verify you're taking the proper procedure for this computer. Of course I am. I pushed the button on the computer. Is that the computer where you see images or under your desk? What do you mean? That's a stupid question. The computer where the information comes up. I take a deep breath. Ma'am, that's not the computer. That's your monitor. What? You're not making sense. That's how we all shut down our computers at work. I explain that at work she doesn't have a computer, but a workstation on a network. I explain that turning off the monitor does not affect the PC at all. Then I walk her through proper shutdown procedures and we reboot her PC. When it reboots, it installs several updates, including multiple driver updates. Hey, you fixed the colors. She never mentioned video issues. And it's running smoother again. One thing I've learned is never take people's word for it when they say they have experience with computers and PCs and things like that. The Mysterious Tale of the Slow Mice, or How I Solved a Decades-Old Problem. This happened a few years ago when I was working as a middle manager at a small factory. Having previously worked in tech support, I was the go-to guy for everything IT related. You know how it goes. We were using this old ERM and process planning software that were most recently updated in 1991, which we accessed through some custom-purpose built terminal emulator applications on Windows. Picture light gray and blue in the classic IBM 3270 font. Not all my colleagues would agree, but it was actually pretty nice working almost exclusively using the keyboard, and the only thing holding you back were how fast you could fly through the different keybinds. When you worked there for a while, you developed this intimate relationship with the software, and the screens were just flickering with the speed at which you were doing things. It was especially a challenge training new people, as everything was just muscle memory by that point, and slowing down enough to make it possible to see what's going on was surprisingly grueling work. My point is, any slight delay in the response of the application stood out like a slap in the face. That's why this bug was so annoying. Sometimes, for some more than others, a 2 to 4 second delay would occur. The whole application would freeze. All key presses queued up for then to be executed in the same timing as they were entered a few seconds later. This time warp effect would linger on for a long time, basically having you see the screen 2 to 4 seconds in the past, or typing 2 to 4 seconds into the future, depending on your perspective. This sucked. What made it weird was how this also happened to the mouse. But operating system wide, unlike the keyboard delay, effectively ruling out network issues, which had been extensively tested and investigated. This was really interesting, so I told people to tell me whenever they had this problem, to just let go of the mouse and keyboard and come get me. The recommended solution was to just restart the application after finishing whatever lengthy process you were in the middle of, and it would usually go away. Usually, which was intriguing. If it didn't work, you disconnected and reconnected any monitors, changed the mouse or keyboard, going from HDMI to DVI to VGA and back. Connect or disconnect from docking station, and any one of those could randomly solve the problem. It was not performance related either, and the range software was extremely limited with any discrepancies easy to single out. Out of any clues or consistent behavior apart from the stuff above, and to rule out any weird local electrical issue or something, I contacted other branches and asked if they also had that issue. They had, perhaps to a less extent than us, but it was definitely a frequent annoyance they had just lived with for as long as they could remember. This made me lose hope, and I gave up looking. Until one fateful day, I was talking on the phone and just clicking stuff on the desktop absent-mindedly, and the mouse suddenly started lagging behind. This had never happened before. It was always while you were actively using the terminal emulator typing. I realized I had moved the application window a tiny bit so that the window border was visible by a few pixels on the second monitor. Moving the window back to only be visible on the first monitor, and the delay was gone. Eureka! Turns out the input handling part of the application would panic if less than a column of symbols from the terminal emulator was visible on a second monitor, or outside the area of a single desktop. If you went over one column of symbols, the delay would disappear. The reason our fixes from above worked came from Windows often moving a little when resolution or desktop layout changes, and when Explorer switches graphical mode for a split second. It also came from the instinct to move windows around or draw rectangles on the desktop when you reconnect the mouse to see if it's working. This application was always in window mode, so it was always at risk of being moved. We never got to know the details of the bug, as this was barely being maintained and soon to be phased out, which sucks. I suspect it had something to do with the symbols of the status bar of the application, as this bug only initiated while on subscreens and not on the root menu, but that's just guessing. No way to know now. It's got to be infuriating to have such a common problem appear so often and nobody can figure it out. I can't imagine how you guys got anything done. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this content, would you do me a favor? Would you consider giving this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe click that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!